You touched off on Ilya Samsonov in that earlier discussion. What are your thoughts on what he's going through right now with the Toronto Marlies not going through a great time at the NHL level?
Yeah, it's a difficult situation. I think, what's interesting here or notable here, maybe a better way to put it, he's dealing, I think, primarily with a mental sort of issue, a mental block, as opposed to just something that's, technical or in his form. And, we're talking about a goaltender who carried a lot of the Leafs' hopes last year, who played most of their biggest games. I know he got injured towards the end of the playoffs, but was in net for a lot of their successes last season and, earned a raise to 3.55 million to what he's making this year. And it has not worked. And the team has worked with him. Like, they've given him little breaks already, not where they put him on waivers and send him down to the AHL the way I have this week. But they've had him not be the backup on certain nights and called Martin Jones up to be a backup to Joseph Wall. And I think they've tried kind of everything. And this is the newest or latest and maybe biggest Hail Mary yet, is to totally remove him from the situation as an NHL goaltender, to put him through waivers, which I think for any proven NHL player, I mean, it's an uncomfortable idea, right? As much as it was probably unlikely someone was going to grab him, you never know. And you might have to move, within 24 hours if just one team claims you. On top of that, it's kind of a public acknowledgement about how bad your situation's going. There's no positive spin to be spun here other than Martin Jones started the year as the Leafs' third goaltender. He's been great so far in limited action. He's allowed them to get through a tough time. But the best outcome here is still for Ilya Samsonov to regain some degree of form and the Leafs playing him. I just don't know if that's going to happen. I mean, I don't think the Leafs can know that, right? I mean, this is a pretty, it's a pretty extreme course of action to take. I mean, I don't blame them. He got to a point where he was second last in the entire league in save percentage for any number of goalies that have played meaningful number of minutes. And the other one that was below him is Antti Ranta, who's in the same spot in Carolina, was sent down to the AHL. I know he's since been recalled by the Hurricanes, but I mean, you're sort of desperate times call for desperate measures. And, for on a human level, I hope the best for Ilya. I hope that he can kind of get in the right mental space to do what he does well when clearly he is at his best. And if not, I mean, I don't even know what could be next. I mean, everyone wants to say, well, what's the trade? Like I would say to you, who would they be trading for, with what assets, with what cap space? Like, how does that all work? I mean, I'm not saying the front office isn't looking at those options or thinking about them, but I think that I'll save you the homework. If you haven't looked at them or thought about them, there's not an easy answer. There's not like an obvious quick solution here. And that's why the Leafs are in the spot they're in. Samsonov is literally working one-on-one with Henry Toivonen, a goaltending coach within the organization. He's not practicing in the AHL. He's not at this time playing in the AHL. And the Leafs are hoping he can get back to the NHL at some point in the near future. And we'll have to see. But there's opportunity here. We haven't even talked about the Hildebeest.
Yeah.
Dennis Hildeby.
Yeah, he's supposed to be making his debut. I do want to ask one thing about Samsonov and what they have him going through with the Marlies. Like, I get we're not goalie experts, but the fact that he's not practicing or playing with them, at least to me, that's a bit of a surprise. But also, we've seen other goalies go through that, and it doesn't always work well. Jack Campbell earlier this year sent to Bakersfield and just had some stinkers of games. I wonder why the Leafs are going for the opposite approach.
Right. Well, and this is only the first week of it. So I don't see this going on weeks and weeks and weeks where he's kind of in limbo. I think that they're taking it a little bit more day by day to see how things go. But that has to be a factor, is that just by playing a game in the AHL, even when you're been an NHL quality goaltender, doesn't mean it's going to go well. You're playing behind a different team. It's a different game to some degree. And obviously, if you arrive there, you're not arriving there at your best. You're not arriving there ready to dominate the way you might at another time in your life. And so I think that's definitely a big part of it. But then the flip side, you're right. It's a weird situation because you're going to say, well, then how can he get better? I mean, we understand he can get better by maybe calming himself down, getting out of the grind of whether it's the media spotlight, the game prep, the practice at the NHL level. Like, I can understand how that could become a negative thing, but you're almost like, how can you build yourself back up again without playing or practicing? And maybe the answer is this time next week when we're recording the show, he's playing games for the Marlies, and that's kind of how they end up. So, I don't know how that's all going to shake out just yet, but you know, I think this is an example though of how far we've come in a lot of ways, or how things have changed. Just the fact, I mean, this truly is just a mental break at this point in time. They're obviously taking the opportunity to work on the physical aspects of the game and some of the technical ones too with him, but you just wouldn't have seen this type of thing, I don't think, in the past. And again, I've got no idea if it's going to work. Unfortunately, it's been tough for Ilya. It just feels like from the start of training camp, just never really got back to where he was. It's not to say he hasn't had good starts along the way, but it feels like he's been chasing it all year long. And now he's in a position with Martin Jones playing well, and once Joseph Woll gets healthy again, I mean, he just might not be one of the best two options in the organization, even when healthy. Even without acquiring someone, he just might not be on the NHL roster, and that's kind of the reality of his situation. And he's got to work his way back from that and fight through and battle to be in a position, I guess, to be one of the two goalies when this season really gets to its most important days.